WOW is about a place, its people, its landscapes, its dreams, its passions, its ideas, and its stories. Everyday people, everyday women who are doing incredible, extraordinary things.
I am delighted to finally be here after a couple of false starts last year. We were worried that we wouldn't get here yesterday after the plane broke down in Blackwall, but here we are.
I would like to begin by acknowledging and paying my respects to the traditional owners, the Iningai people of the land on which we are gathered here tonight. I acknowledge and pay respects to my Bidjara ancestors and my descendants, the Thompson and also the Fraser families, who have been custodians of Iningai country in and around the Barcaldine area since the beginning of the early 1900s. I would also like to acknowledge and pay my respects to the Indigenous and non-Indigenous elders, both past, present and emerging, and extend my respects to you all here tonight, attending and supporting the opening for the event of the 2022 WOW Festival here in Longreach.
We are on the week of International Women's Day. I think we're the only state in Australia that have a female premier, a female governor general, a female attorney general, a female chief justice, and a female police commissioner. How cool is that? Woo!
When I moved to Longreach, straight away I was incorporated into a group of people who were doing something that I could connect with. And how you do that with different people is something that as communities we really need to be across. We need to think about when people come into town, what is it that they need, or how can we encourage them to tell us how they need to be connected into our communities so that we can alter to some degree what we do so that we can draw them into the heart of what we are as a community.
Lots of small communities in the outback. A lot of our teachers, a lot of our police, a lot of our public servants, their nurses, they come and go. And I often say to a lot of the teaching staff, like, immerse yourself in the community, because when you see that child in the community, you see a different child. You might see a child with their grandparents or their mum and dad. And so, you see that. And just build connections, build relationships. Relationships are really, really important. And because then when you have those relationships, then you can have the hard conversations.
Well, it gets everybody together. It gets the town people together, the country people have an opportunity to come in, like me, step out of my comfort zone, meet a few extra people, have a bit of a laugh and a joke, and life's not that serious, is it?
The trouble with not stepping up is that they keep coming for you. So if you let them get away with it once, you start to create your persona and your role as submissive and a good girl or easily manipulated or whatever. And you can't be a grown-up in the world and play the roles that we play if you can't define yourself differently. So that's it's a fundamental thing to your survival to establish that you're a grown-up and you can fight your corner when you have to.
Well, wow, isn't it? What a fabulous time we're having. Last night that was so exhilarating and inspiring, and absolutely magnificent design, beauty and art coming together, and the joie de vivre of it all. And I've done a lot of shopping this morning.
We definitely need to gather more together as women and learn the ways of women. That's how we need to get our younger generation. But we need to do it intergenerationally. We need the young girls to come together with all across generations to learn the ways.
And on that note, you have a very wonderful beauty tip on how to apply makeup. What's your special technique?
Mate, tin of shit and a feather.
She said, I've got a husband, but he doesn't know I'm leaving him for my girlfriend.
I was like, wow, that's going to be a bit of a shock. That's called dancing over the rainbow. That's what they call that now.
That, turn over, bend over. Right. But it's not for that. It's a fly flogger. Do you believe it?
When you say fitness and women, you think weight loss, yeah? You think, oh, they want to lose weight. And, oh, my goodness
Hell
me.
yeah.
I try and steer away from that like I run 1,000,000 miles. Because admittedly, that might be what they want first, especially when they're feeling so crappy about themselves on a property in isolation with kids and other people pulling at them. It's the first thing that fractures in a woman's mind is how they look. It defaults back to the body image, and it's not different for rural women, and I see it all the time. And however, once you pull back the layer of what they look like and what that's associated with, there's a much deeper reason as to why they want this fitness thing. They want to feel good about themselves.
Feel slack when I wake up in the morning, watching the tide. It's always coming and going like a bat and don't you. It's like the monkey told me what to do. Go fish, go sleep, go yarn through the day. Monkey and the turtle yarn from away. The toss, the straight, the talk about. With the sway of the trees and the breeze.
But you do need more women in leadership roles because we give a very different perspective to what men do. And it's not that we're right and they're wrong, that's not it at all, but you need to have more general views, a balance of views out there.
Australia's a very racist country, and I grew up and had it really, really hard. A lot of people say, you can't say that, Keelan, I can say whatever I want. Because until you walk in my shoes and see with my eyes and hear with my ears to see what we've, as Aboriginal people, First Nations people in this country have got to live with. I've never drank, I've never done drugs in my life, I've never hurt anyone. We were brought up with our mum to respect people.
All right, yeehaw, still out in the WOW West, and I am here in Longreach for WOW with Heather, who made this amazing hat. Now, is there much demand for this headwear in Longreach, Heather? Joanne, who's Heather?
We had our first Aboriginal female surgeon this week, I think it was, and it's amazing and should be celebrated, but why is this only happening now? And I just can't wait for it to not be news anymore.
This is Joanne, she made this, but is there much demand for this in Longreach?
No, I don't think so. We haven't got any of the jousting set out here. Gee, I still love what I do. We've built the pub up in 5 years to last night receiving the second second Grey Nomad pub in Australia. So, pretty proud of that. Yeah. So, that's my life.
In 2022, many women and girls are affected by discrimination on the grounds of sex, pregnancy, insidious sexual harassment and abuse. We keep battling, we keep fighting to knock down the same barriers to equality. Childcare is unaffordable for nearly 40% of families who use the childcare system. A large percentage of Australian families spend more on early childhood education than on groceries, and domestic violence is increasing in incidence and gravity. A scourge on our society, and the one I regard as the most serious human rights issue for women in this country and in every country around the world.
All right, what is going on in here? Hello.
Hi. So we're making protest posters. So we've got a bunch of images and a bunch of text, and the idea is that anyone can come in and they can either just have fun with it and pick images and text that they like, or they can say something super important and political about the world. And this workshop and workshops like this are super important because it means that individuals can have a real big say about anything they want in the world. They're not filtered by media or newspaper or anything like that. So it really lets people know that with just the basic resources we have in our house or in our schools, you can make really big comments about the world, have really big conversations with each other. So we love doing these types of things. Everyone's welcome.
I've always wanted to meet George Clooney. I know, darling. Now listen, that is one silver fox that could break into my coop and steal my eggs any day. Burk, burk.
For now, and it's about community. The pub's not a place to sell beer, but it's about a place for people to come and feel safe with their family. Hence, we have a no dickhead policy. So, we get rid of that pretty quick.
And I'm going to leave you with a few little things that have given me the help over the last couple of years. Live in the moment, be present, be here, be now. Practice gratitude. Say it, write it down, think about it every day. Be grateful for what you have and who you are. Find your happy place, both mentally and physically. Find somewhere to go in your mind when things get tough. Now for me it's the beach. I just need to go for a swim. I need to get on that beach. I just need to swim. That's my happy place. If I can't get there physically, I go in my mind. Know what you can and what you can't control. And the wisdom to know the difference, but we all know that saying. Get your mental wellness hat and look after you.
Did your dad bring you here to be a woman of the world? What a freaking legend! Oh, that's how it's done! That's how it's done! Oh my gosh, and how old are you, sweetie pie? You're 22, you've got the face of an angel. Of course you do, your dad hasn't been stressing the shit out of you, has he? He's just like, what do you want to do today, darling? Go and save a generation, go to Women of the World, solve climate change. What are we doing?
Because lots of people are destroying the earth, so I wanted to help grow the earth back.
And it was finally at university where, again, I was lower than everyone else in my cohort at the theory, kind of excelled at the practical element. And I went and sought some help. I said, I need some help. And that's where I got my first diagnosis of being dyslexic. So I wasn't dumb. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel dumb. And I made it through.
I just think because there is a voice out here as well, and I think sometimes, you hear the voices of people in the big cities a little bit more, so it's great to be out here and actually talk about what's important out here as well.
Okay, before we start this, just a little word I'm just going to step out of character for a second. This is all made up on the spot, okay? So it genuinely could be shit.
We can be the author, that we hold the pen, and whilst we can't change all the things that happen to us, we can write how we respond to them, and we can rub it out and we can change how we respond. And that actually the chapters ahead are all unwritten.
Really stood out for me is, and the thing that I'm going to take with me as well, is that the power of listening is equally important as the power of storytelling. So being able to listen openly and without judgment to someone else's story is just as important as sharing your own.
But what I find so special about the country is that we have to be creative and we have to be innovative. We have to find solutions to difficult problems, and that's where we find our joy. It's also our hardship, but that is our deep, deep joy, is that we can find a solution to any problem that we encounter.
Should we be concentrating on saying, oh, we're spending all this time in drought, or should we say, well, if this is kind of what we can expect in this area, season-wise, if this is what the odds are, then readjust, reset your goalposts a little and adjust how you're going to live through that time.